Hello and welcome to this episode of our lectures. Now, over here, we are going to look at programming methods. So, what exactly is programming method? Now, with this one, we are going to look at the concept of programming. Now, before you start writing any code, there needs to be, the initial foundation or the what we call the concept. It's like learning English language. You need to first know the alphabet. Any language you want to learn, the first step is to know the basics or the concept. That is simply the alphabet and how to join, this alphabet to form words. In programming, we have also a concept we need to follow. Okay. So this is the introduction to programming. Perhaps maybe you've not, you don't have any knowledge or experience in programming. It's your first time. This is actually the first or the good place to start. We are going to take you step by step through the concept. I'll take my time and then especially explain things up so that by the end of this video you can have the confidence. Okay, and it's not going to be just theory. I'm also going to take the time to walk you through practicals. Now we are going to use C++ to be experimenting or for learning the concept. It's very easy and I'm going to break things down for you. Okay, so this is programming methods, and if we check what we have here, we are going to look at some objectives like what is meant by a program, understand who is a programmer, and then as you can see, so these are some of the things that we look at. And then in addition, we will look at some terminologies in programming, and then we will dive deeper into the basic concept of most programming language. Now, the beauty of programming language is you learn one and then you apply everywhere. So what we do in Java is the same as what we do in C++. It's also the same as what we do in any other language. That means if you understand one particular language very well, learning the other languages should be very, very easy. And all the languages, they before you can write them fluently, you need to first understand the concept. So the concept is what we are coming to look at. Okay, now let's discuss this. So what is a program? What is programming language, and who is a program? Okay, so this is what we are first going to start with before we migrate to the other sections. Okay, all right. So program, there are many definitions of what a program is. The following are some acceptable examples. Okay, so you can read what is on the screen, but basically if we say a program is a group of related instructions that aims to perform a task. Now every program must perform a task. That is it, every program. Now example of programs that we have are the Microsoft Word, the Mavis Beacon. You can also talk about web browsers, the game applications. Okay, all of them are programs. And within program, there are a lot of some instructions in there. So when we say instruction, it's simply the lines of code or how the programmers came about that program, the kind of commands they gave behind the scenes that we, the end user, we don't see. Those are some of the things that come together to make the program functional. Okay, so the related instruction that aims to perform a task. Now every program, like I said, should perform a task. Now let's say I'm a beginner to this computer stuffs. I'm not computer literate, so I want to get myself abreast with technology, the computer. Okay, definitely if I want to start with maybe typing, right? Now if I want to learn how to type, I will not go and then use web browser. Okay, web browser is for a specific task. The main task of web browser is simply for what? For browsing and then navigating web pages. That is about web browser. So if I want to learn how to type, I would then need to go for softwares or programs that will simply help my understanding with typing. I mean, Mavis Beacon and the others. These programs, they have a lot of instruction within them that aims to perform the task. And at the end of the day, if you are a user and then you use them, you will come out as a typist. Are you with me? So these programs we know or are up there they all solve a particular problem or perform a task. Okay, so that is about a program. Now, at the end of the day, being a software engineer, the end goal or the end product of our coding should be a program. Okay, so we first need to understand what program is. Anything you can use on the computer is simply a program. Even the Microsoft Windows, Mac OS, they are all examples of what? Programs. Are you with me? So anything you can see on the computer that can perform a task, they are simply what? They are programs. Okay. Now let's move on to programming language. It says, like us, computers also have the language they speak, which is machine language. A programming language is the language in which the computer programs are written in. That is about programming language. So program. These programs are created using what? Programming language. And it's just like machine language. Okay. The language the computer understands. So the computers, they interact with the computer. We interact with the computers using the what? Using their language. The same way you are watching this video from your house, your home, it's possible you following because you can understand the language I'm speaking. Programming language is the same thing. It's the language the computer understands. So for you to tell the computer to sleep, you need to speak that language or give that command in the computer's language. Now someone can come and stand by you and ask you, maybe bring out your hand, let me put some amount in. But because you don't speak French, you'll be there looking at like, man, you get it. That's because you don't understand the language. So that is all about programming language, a machine language that the computer itself can what? Understand. Now look at the last point. It says a language which allow humans to interact with the computer. That is it. The language that will help us give some command. So when you click on a button, for instance, on a website, then something drops down. You slide the page and then things are. So that's all about programming language for giving instructions to the computer. Okay. So moving from there, we'll look at some of the terminologies. Now, it makes sense to have some notes and then book and then a pen somewhere. So you'll be jotting down these things. Okay. Now, first of all, you will be hearing this in programming a lot. Bugs or errors. Bugs or errors. Bugs or errors. Now, if we say bugs or errors, they are simply simple, mistakes in computer code that make the program to not function. Okay, any occurrence in your program that can make it end in an unexpected result. Maybe you want the program to have a particular look or a particular feel. That is mostly with HTML, CSS, but you realize it will not look like how you want it. You have your plan in mind. You want the site to have a particular feel or a particular look, but it will not look like that. And the reason why that can happen is what we are saying, it's what? An error. Simple as that. Okay. So when you say bugs or errors, anything that can make the code not work, that is simply what? Errors. Now, with the errors and then bugs, the one mostly will be used, or the one that is everywhere, widely used in the industry, is what we call the what? The bugs. The bugs. So for bugs, they are simply used everywhere. Okay, but they are the same thing though. And moving from there, you can see we have some types of bugs or errors. We have the syntax, we have the logical, and then we have the what? The runtime. Now when we say syntax error, it says what? They are like grammatical mistakes in code. That is it. Now with the syntax error, you see every language, every programming language has a way of it being what? Written. Okay. So if you are not following the way the language should be written, that is what we call what? The syntax error. First of all, understand the underlying word syntax. When we say syntax, is the rules regarding how the programming language should be what? Should be written. So we have C++ syntax, we have Java syntax. All the programming language, they all have their syntax. And with syntax, we are trying to say they all have the way it is written. So syntax error comes in when you are not coding or when you are not writing the code per the specifications or per how it's supposed to be written. So when that happens, you end up getting an error, and that will make your code not run or end up in an unexpected manner. Okay. Then the next one we look at is what we call the logical errors. Now with logical errors, it can be frustrating sometimes. Okay. It can be frustrating. So maybe you write your code and everything works, but then the result the program is giving will not be accurate. So what am I trying to say? Maybe you want your program to be in such a way that when the program starts, the program will take some number, like it will ask the user to provide your age. Let's take it for instance, age, and whatever the age of the user will be, the program will just double it. So that means if the person is 2 years, the program is supposed to bring out 4, because double of 2 is 4. If the person is 6 years, it's supposed to 6 times 2, that is 12. So that is what maybe we have in mind, that we want to do something like that. That's a program we want to do, and we don't know what happened at the end of the program. Testing it, we give it a value like 2, and instead of getting 4, we are getting 17. Okay, so when it comes like that, it's logical error. The program is correct, but the logic behind the program is incorrect. So that is all about the logical error, the program producing incorrect output. Okay, all right, so that is about the logical error. Then we have the runtime errors. So runtime error happens while the program is running and can cause it to crash. This is also one example. Sometimes the program today will run, tomorrow unexpectedly, then it crashed. Mostly some Android applications to do that. The program will be running and then as you are enjoying the flow, all of a sudden the program will end unexpectedly. Then you have to close it. There are so many factors and reasons that can cause the runtime error. So for instance, let's say the application that we have is depending on database, and today at the point of creating the application, the database is available. So the application is communicating with the database, everything is fine. Now the next day something happened, the database is down or has been taken off. The application that was once running because of it depending on the database definitely will not work again. So when the user try to do anything that will involve the database, or unexpectedly it will stop working. Okay, so person A and then person B, they are connected. If person B is not there, definitely their communication will cut. So that's the same thing. Application depending on database. If the database is not available, the application will not run. So that is all about the runtime error. This, when happens, it crashes the application most times. So these are some of the errors that we have in programming. Okay, these are some of the errors that we have in programming. Let's move on to the next one. Then we have a very important program, compiler. Compiler is something that you really need to understand. Okay, compiler is something you really need to understand before you can even start programming. So let's look at a definition. A compiler is a special program that translates source code written in high-level language like C++, Java, or Python into a low-level language, typically machine code or an intermediate language. This translation process is called compilation. Now you can look at some high-level language and a low-level language. These are keywords that you should try and then search about. But basically, programming language, they are in two types. When we say the language is low level, it means it deals with it talks directly to the hardware component of the computer. And then if it's high level, it means the language is abstracted from the internal hardware processes of the machine. Okay, high level languages, they don't talk directly to the motherboard or to the hardware, but the low level, they communicate directly to the processor, to the motherboard, to the hardware component. Okay, so let me just clarify the two keywords in there. Okay, so we the humans, we understand our normal language, mostly English, and then the computer understands binaries, that is zeros and then what, ones. Now for the computer to be able to take our code and then execute it, it's very difficult. It's not possible. It's like we have two different environments. Our environment is different from the environment of the computer. Okay, so this is not possible. It's not possible. So let me show you an example, a typical example of code. A typical example of code, so I can use to demonstrate the two environment I'm talking about here. Okay, so if you look at what we have here, now don't try to understand things here. Okay, just move, follow along with the flow. You understand them. I will explain everything one by one. Okay, but if you check this is an example of C++ code. This code is readable, even though you need to be introduced or you need to be taught. Okay, but I'm trying to say it's readable. Like you can see English words. Using is English word. Namespace, you realize they are all English. Are you with me? This is include. You can see name, main, int, like integer. You get it? So the computer, it doesn't understand using. It don't know anything like namespace. The only language the computer understands is binaries, zeros and then what, ones. Now previously programming language was not readable like this. It will require the programmer to know the binaries. So you have to code in zeros and then what, ones. But this time around, we don't do that. We simply go by readable form, like we code in readable form, like what you are seeing here. This is readable. Are you with me? This is readable. So that is what this time around we go by, so that we can. It's complicated trying to code in binaries though. Okay, so that is it. This one, the computer will not understand. Computer will want us to convert everything to zeros and ones, which is very difficult. Okay, so what the compiler does is it will take the human readable version of the language like this, the C out, the C in, all that we have here. The compiler will convert everything into binary. It will convert it into zeros and ones. And that zeros and ones is what we call the machine code or the object code. The object code. So after the compiler is done compiling or converting it to binary, then the computer can execute the version of the compiler. So your program, the machine or the processor will not execute this your readable form. It's going to execute the one the compiler will generate. So that is the job of the what? Of the compiler. The job of the compiler. It sits in between the programmer and then the what? And the computer. So you, the programmer, you provide what you understand. You write your human readable programming language. The compiler will take that, convert it into a machine code or a binary. The binary will then be executed by what? By the compiler. This is not something that was there. Now it is what is going on. Okay, compilers are in C++, Java do have compiler. All the languages, they have compiler. Okay, and then let me give you this assignment. Apart from compiler, we also have interpreter. So they work the same. Python like this, it doesn't use compiler. Python use interpreter, but it's the same thing. They do the same work. Okay, compiler or interpreter, they do the same work. Are you with me? So that is about the compiler. You'll be hearing this in programming. So each time you hear compiler, you have to understand that they are talking about this that I just said. Okay, so that is it. Let's move on to the next terminology. The next terminology on the list is code editor. This is very, very important. Now, what is a code editor? It's a text editor specifically designed for writing and then editing source code. It typically includes features like syntax highlighting, automatic indentation, and others. Okay, so they are softwares for writing code. If you want to write code, you don't open Microsoft Word. Okay, so this thing that you are seeing here, you can see Microsoft Word can give you this feature. Every programming language you want to start writing your code in, you have to use code editor. So it's a special application for what? Writing code. And this application, they include what you can see here, syntax highlighting. Syntax is just the language the way you write. So sometimes you write some things and then you realize they are highlighted with some colors. Okay, these are all ways to improve your coding, make it easy to understand. So there's the example of the syntax highlighting. You have the automatic indentation. So you can see from here, if I hit enter, there's automatic indentation somewhere here. Okay, so code editor, they do have all these features inside, and that is it. So to wrap it up, code editor, they are application or special programs designed for writing and then editing code. Are you with me? Then we have the other one, the other guy, that is IDE. So for IDE, it's just like the code editor. It's also for writing code, but IDE is much comprehensive. It's a more comprehensive software application that provides a wide range of tools for software development. So this is massive. Now look at IDE as a studio itself, having all the necessary tools. Code editor can help you write your code, but IDE will just take it further. Okay, so inside IDEs we have compilers and then what? Interpreters. We have debuggers, and if we say debugging, it's a way to what? Locating and then fixing errors in your code. So when you have an IDE, they will give you all these features. Some of the features included in IDE, apart from the debugger, is the compiler or the interpreter. So the compiler interpreter, that will translate your code into executable format for compiled language. Okay, these ones, they are included in the IDE. We have build automation tools. So build automation tools are also inside, and we have version control integration and the others. Some of these we will have to talk about them later on because it will not be okay for now. They are like advanced concept. Okay, yeah, that is about IDE. Now we have IDE for C++, IDE for any of the languages. Java do have an IDE. Each time you want to write your particular language, maybe you want to start coding C++ or Java, you need an IDE for that. Okay, so we will look into this one when we start writing code. Now quickly, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, you do so and then you subscribe, so that it serves as a source of motivation. There are a lot of things on me though, actually, but I have to dissipate some time to create this content so we can all enjoy. So try as much as possible, and then give me your subscribe, your like, and also your comment if you like the content we are discussing here. Okay, so that is about IDE. The full meaning is Integrated Development Environment. It provides you with a set of tools for debugging. If we say debugging, finding and fixing errors in your code, it has the compiler. It will help you to build your software. Okay, and then do every other stuff that you can think about. Okay, so that is it. Last thing to wrap up with IDEs, you see, when you look at an actual application doesn't look like how it was made. It doesn't look like its content. Let me put it that way. You go to Play Store, you download an application. Inside the application is full of images, UI, and then text. You don't see anything code. You don't see anything code is not there. You get it, and that is as a result of the IDE. IDE has the power of converting your code to the ready format, to executable, so that your system or your program can be installed on systems. Okay, so that is about some of the things IDE can also do. Okay, So that is about the terminologies. Now what we are looking at now will be variables. So it's very, very important here, variables. Now for me to teach you variables, or for us to start doing variables, I will have to quickly install a program that we will use for what? For practicals. Okay, a program for practicals. So quickly you can head over to your browser and then search for code blocks. Now when you search for code blocks, this is the official website. So just click on the link you see, code blocks. You click on that and then you go to download. You see download is somewhere here. Click on downloads. Download the binary release. So just click on it. When you click on download the binaries, you can see various operating systems here. So you choose the one that is specific to your machine. Okay, and please download the one that looks like this, that has the MINGW setup. This one, the code editor, the IDE will come with a compiler. Not all of them here do come with a compiler. Okay, so if it doesn't have a compiler, that means you can write the code but you will not see the end result. So choose this particular one. So against it we have the what? The sourceforge.net. Just click on that. Okay, so your download will start shortly. After some time your download will have to what? Your download will have to start, and from there you can what? You can begin your downloading process. So I have it already. I don't need to what? Install that already. So let me just cancel it. Okay, and then wait for it to finish installing. After it's done with the installation, we will then continue from variables. Okay, we'll continue from variables. All right. Okay, so if we say variable, they are simply a placeholder for values in memory. A variable is a space in memory where data is what? Is stored. Okay, so I think I'll have to end here. We will continue in the next lecture. Already I think I'm tired, so let me just leave you here. I'll come back the next day, then we'll continue from here. Okay, so thank you so much for taking the time with me at this time. I want you to subscribe and then stay up to date with content we'll be posting. All right, bye bye.